Good morning from Katowice. Did you know that if the Visegrad group were a country, it would have been the fourth largest country in Europe? My name is Przemek Grzywa, and I have a great pleasure today to moderate a discussion during an e-conference about studying in Visegrad. We have a fantastic panel of experts, which I am going to introduce to you in a second, but before I do that, I would like to briefly explain the goal of today's event and present the organizers. We meet today to understand the opportunities waiting for the students in Visegrad countries. The Visegrad Group, also known as the Visegrad 4 or just simply V4, was initiated in 1991 by 4 countries: Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, and Slovakia. Our today's conference has been organized by Association NZS 1980 from Katowice, together with the US-Polish Trade Council and Marhout Association in Katowice. And the event is financed by Totalizator Sportowy, one of the most recognizable Polish companies that support Polish sport and national culture. So without further ado, let me introduce our honorable guests so that we could start the discussion. I will do that in an alphabetical order. Bartosz Bagniewski, Senior Audit Associate at Eisner Amper, previously at Morgan Stanley and Consulate General of the Republic of Poland in New York. It is 5 a.m. in New York right now. I guess, Bartosz, that you have a big coffee with you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Anna Krzemińska-Kaczyńska, founder and CEO of the WorldLink Foundation that connects experienced teachers, professors, and world consultants from Europe, America, and Asia to provide specialized educational programs for students. Welcome, Anna.
Good morning from Kraków.
Good morning from Katowice. Marianna Neupowerowa, Deputy Executive Director from Visegrad Fund, that was established by the governments of V4 countries in 2000 to promote and facilitate regional cooperation. Very happy to have you with us, Marianna, today.
Good morning and thank you.
Rafał Pieprzyk, President of the Board of the Polish Alumni Association that associates alumni of various exchange programs financed by the US government.
Hello everyone, nice to be with you.
Hello, Rafał. Klara Tonkowa, expert in study in the Czech Republic under the Czech National Agency for International Education, which is the first source of knowledge for students that want to study in Czech Republic. Dobré ráno, Klara.
Dobré ráno, good morning everyone.
Good morning. And last but not least, Aleksander Zacharczuk, Chief Specialist of the Polish National Agency for Academic Exchange that supports international mobility of students, academics, and researchers.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello, Alexander. So let me start with the first question, and I would like to start with a better understanding of the regional landscape of the V4 countries. Mariana, could you possibly tell us what are the opportunities in V4 countries for international students and how Visegrad Fund can support it?
Good morning again. Thank you for having us here. It's a special year, the 2020, for International Visegrad Fund, as you already mentioned, because it's the 20th anniversary of our establishment. And according to our mission, except for grant schemes, mobility is the biggest part of our work. So we do support mobility of students, fellows, academia across the region and also beyond the region, meaning that we also do support Western Balkans academics and students and Eastern Partnership. So over the period of time that we do support scholars, we supported 2,300 students. For 2020, we did support some 150 students, majority coming from V4. So if you allow me, I will just briefly mention some basic conditions, how it works, the scholarship with us, so as you have the basic overview of how we work and how it functions. So basically, there are 3 types of scholarships that we do support in the International Visegrad Fund. Firstly, it's the bachelor studies that are from V4 and you want to go to another V4 country That's the fundament of our mobility scheme. You have to go to a different country. It depends. We do compare the permanent residence and the citizenship and also your home university. So you have to go somewhere else. Then it's the master's and postmaster's students from V4 that can go to other V4 country, or if they wish to go to one of the 6 Western Balkans countries or another 6 Eastern Partnership countries. And then we do also support, as I mentioned, students coming from EAP, Eastern Partnership, and Western Balkans. And those are master's and postmaster's students who come to the Visegrad 4 countries. So on our webpage, then later on, we will share the link somehow. You will find very basic conditions, and there's also a system where you can click, where students can click the spheres of their interest, the level of their studies, what they're interested in, and it will offer them the most suitable option for them. So there's one deadline, that's the 15th of March, where they have to apply, they can apply via online system. So we do not work with papers, they just upload all the paper documents, documentations to the system so that they can, after the evaluation is done, they can already start in September at the university of their choice. And basically that's another point I want to mention. So our applicants can apply to any university that is accredited to in the country of their interest. So as I mentioned before, or the EAP or Western Balkans countries. So and in principle, we do have some 190 universities or higher education institutions, to be precise, on our list of cooperation so far. What will be interesting also for our viewers is the level of contribution that we can support. So we do cover, we do not cover tuition fee as such. We do encourage the universities not to ask for full tuition, but we do not take care of this issue in principle. So we do pay lump sum for every student, every scholar to the university, being 1,500 euros per semester. And then we pay another 2,500 euros to the student directly for every semester. In principle, we do support students, scholars, for 2 up to 4 semesters of their studies. There are some, of course, basic requirements, but I think these are very much in line with other institutions that are offering scholarships. So for the paperwork, it's not really difficult. For the evaluation committee, we have experts from all the 4 ministries and the fund who take part in the evaluation committee, and then we get the results. Usually, as I said, the deadline is the 15th of March. We have results sometime in the beginning of May, and then the scholars start in September. We do, again, work with already with paperwork. There's some, so before signing the contract, they already received the first tranche at the beginning of the semester. We need to receive the confirmation of their arrival, and then we do pay the first tranche, and then based on transcript of records or some progress report from the first semester, we do proceed with further tranches. Maybe it will be interesting for you to know, last year we had some 700 applications. We accepted we chose 150. So the success ratio for the last year, it differs every year, has been some 25%. So 1 in 5 gets a scholarship, which might be interesting for some students who need some further support. We also, if you have any more specific questions, or if there's something I forgot, then please
yes,
tell me.
One maybe specific question in terms of who can apply. Is it any student from any country of the world, or there are also some limitations regarding the origin of the student that is coming from?
There is. So basically, again, it's the bachelor's students coming from the V4, so Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, and Poland, who can apply for studying again, in another V4 country. So Czech students, bachelor students can go to study in, now let me note the mix, Slovakia, Poland, or Hungary. Then it's masters and postmasters V4 students. So it's based on the citizenship that we check. We need a scanned version of their ID that can go to V4 again, or then further to EAP countries and Western Balkans.
Okay.
Should I name the countries? I think you will find it, and I'm sure that whoever is interested will be able to dig it out. And then who can come to the V4 region? It's the Western Balkans and EAP. So applicants with citizenship of one of those 12 countries outside our region.
One more question to you. What is and who can take advantage of the residency program?
Yes, that's another very interesting item on our agenda at the fund. And before getting to the residencies and your question, I would also like to mention that we have another kind of a fellowship program, and that is with Open Society Archives in Budapest. Again, whoever is interested, they can go to our webpage or to the webpage of the Open Society Archives in Budapest. And that's for fellows who are dealing with history, philosophy, sociology. Basically, those are the basic their disciplines of people who are interested to study there. And they go there to the archives for 2 months, usually, with support of some 2,000 euros. And they can have an in-depth look into topics of their interest. We do have yearly priority topics for academic year of 2021. It's about the seeking of truth in a polarized world. So it's a very broad topic, but we had wonderful applications. So back to the residencies, what you asked for. Again, residencies, it's something that is very close to my heart, honestly, because now with artists being in such a difficult situation, it's wonderful to see that they are still willing and they are so much in need for some support, and they are still coming with brilliant ideas. So we do support artists in 4 types of residencies. So we do have 4 types of residencies. We have every year we have 4. This year, exceptionally, we will have 8 artists in New York with one of the houses, art houses in New York. This year, as I'm saying, it's exceptional because we did not manage to send them to America because of the pandemic. In 2020. Then we do support literary residencies. We have some partner institutions, and they can go anywhere to any institution of their interest within the V4 region. Then we do support visual and sound artists, and we have also performing arts. Now, who can apply? It's basically it's not limited by age. We usually support already professionals, so it's writers, poets, whoever is working with theater. So it's a very broad range of artists who can join and apply for this kind of scholarship residency.
Thank you, Mariana, for giving us a better understanding of the scheme and support of the Visegrad Fund. I hope we can go back to the pandemic situation, but right now I would like to go into a local perspective and see the advantages and opportunities in particular countries. And I would like to ask Clara to maybe to give us a little bit more information, a brief overview of the opportunities and requirements waiting for international students that want to study in Czech Republic. Clara, the floor is yours.
Sure, thank you. So the Czech Republic is definitely an interesting place to live and to study. For example, what we always say, that's a fun fact for the parents when the students are trying to persuade them and saying like, hey, I want to go and study abroad. The Czech Republic, according to the Global Peace Index, is the 10th safest country in the world. So that's definitely a good fact to remember. we're also very affordable. So we're the second most affordable country in Europe and the seventh in the world. For example, we're also the third place to go and work abroad. So if the students are just about to finish their studies and are thinking like, okay, but I will want to stay here in the Czech Republic, they have plenty of opportunities to work here. A lot of international companies have their offices here. It could be KPMG, it could be Avast, it could be Google, Microsoft, IBM. So many of these really worldwide known companies have their offices here. We have 61 universities in more than 20 towns and cities, so there's plenty to choose from. And for example, Praha and Brno, our two biggest cities, rank among the top 10 of the best student towns or cities in the world. So there's definitely a lot happening in those two cities for our students, especially our international students that can take advantage of that. When it comes to costs, around the expenses, that could be around 350 to 750 on average per month. That's in American dollars. That already includes accommodation, travel, fun, everything. So that really comes hand in hand with the second most affordable place in Europe. When it comes to accommodation, that could depend on where the students stay. If they stay in dorms, that would be around 150 American dollars a month. But we know that a lot of the students do not particularly want to stay at dorms, and that's completely fine. The opportunity then is a private room in a private flat. That would be around 250 American dollars, or even a private flat. So that would be around 450 American dollars a month. We know that international students, or any student, they love discounts. So of course that the Czech Republic offers an ISIC card. This card would give you around or up to 75% discounts, and that could be for transport, that could be for culture, anything you wish. Pretty much as a student, you have it almost for free. And in more general terms, what the students can also take advantage of is the location of the Czech Republic. So we're literally in the heart of Europe, and you can go and travel wherever you want. Of course, aside from Corona and the whole pandemic situation, but usually you can reach Germany, you can reach Poland, Slovakia, Austria within 2.5 hours. So that could be by bus, by train, by car, whatever you wish. So that's definitely something to go and have fun.
Okay, thank you for a detailed information. You mentioned the costs. Probably some of the students would like to know whether they could also get a temporary job to work while they are studying. Can you maybe tell a little bit more about that?
Sure, that's definitely possible. You can have, and a lot of students do have part-time jobs during their studies. You can find part-time job quite easily. It depends also on the language. So Czech is a difficult language, we know that. But a lot of the universities have courses to help international students master our lovely language. So that might help the students if they decide that they would want to have a part-time job during their studies. They may also be lucky and find a part-time job that would be in English, for example. So that's definitely possible.
Okay. We know that there are some financial support and scholarship opportunities from the Visegrad Fund. What about other opportunities? Do international students have also opportunity to use some scholarships?
Sure. We do offer scholarships for degree courses that are long-term and for research and study stays that are short-term. But the conditions and the offer, they change a lot. So it would be quite difficult to actually explain everything in detail, and it may not be true in half a year. So what we always say is go and check our website. That would be studyin.cz for all the most up-to-date information. Or if you want to have maybe a slightly more general overview, that would be scholarshipportal.com, the website. And when it comes to this particular situation, we also offer bilateral agreements. So that would be definitely the case here. It would be for non-graduate programs that would be up to 2 to 10 months. That could be for students at any level. That could be for bachelor, master's, PhD, or even the staff. They can take advantage of that. The scholarship would range from 9,000 to 9,500 Czech crowns per month. And the deadline for that would usually be the end of March. So that's the bilateral agreement, but the students can also take advantage of programs such as Erasmus. That's well known, that's for sure. But also CEPUS is quite useful here, or the Visegrad Fund. Yes.
Prague and Brno, obviously the biggest student cities in the Czech Republic. What are the other cities, student cities in Czech Republic?
So it's not, the Czech Republic is not only about Prague. Of course, the majority of the 61 universities that I mentioned would be in Prague. But then there's Brno, there's Hradec Králové, there's České Budějovice in the south, there's Plzeň, there's Ostrava, Olomouc. All of these cities would actually have great universities. And with all of the fields of study that you can think of, it literally goes from Egyptology to something like nanotechnology and sociology. Everything you can think of, we have it pretty much. And the idea is also that about 1,000 degrees or programs are taught in English. So if you do not think that you could master it in the Czech language, you have the opportunity to study in English. Of course, if you study in Prague, you can get by with English super easily. If you decide to go to a smaller town, which would be České Budějovice in the south, which would be Olomouc up north, or Ostrava, anywhere in the slightly smaller cities, you will definitely encounter problems with English, but we want to help you pretty much. That's in our mentality. So if you just come there with 2 words in Czech, I'm pretty sure you will also be fine, because you will get what you want.
Thank you so much, Clara, for giving us a better understanding of a local landscape in Czech Republic for international students. And I would like to ask the same question to Alexander. What are the opportunities for international students in Poland, and what can international students expect in Poland?
Sure, thank you very much. So speaking of Poland, usually people think about Warsaw or Krakow, but Poland has a lot more to offer than only those 2 cities. And well, there is not only a lot of fascinating cities, but a lot of really great universities to choose from. If we are talking about international students, last year it was more than 80,000 students coming to Poland for studies. Of course, it was before the coronavirus situation that we're having right now, but still the number of international students is increasing really rapidly during the last at least 5 years. And a lot of universities has a lot to offer. And by telling a lot, I would like to mention that we, as National Agency for the Academic Exchange, have our own campaign, which is called Ready, Study, Go Poland, or to be short, just Go Poland. And this is the campaign which highlights all the possibilities for international students to study in Poland. So if you are interested in getting the information about how does it feel to study in Poland, how to choose the program of studies, what is really happening right now in Poland, then you can visit our website and you will find a lot of articles there about students' life, about how to choose the university, how to apply. And basically, if we're talking about studies, you have to choose from two main options. You can study either in Polish or in English. And basically, this is the decision is up to you. If it's okay for you to study the language, and once you will finish that to start your studies, then that's absolutely fine. Lots of universities and also National Agency for the Academic Exchange offer special programs of Polish language or Polish language and culture that you can sign up for. And this is how you will get the feel of Polish language. Well, maybe this is not the easiest language in the world, but still such course will help you to better understand the culture and people, and also get the right level of Polish proficiency that will let you to apply for studies. And usually if we're talking about application, we are talking about the average requirement is B2 level of either Polish or English if we're talking about bachelor's, and if we're talking about masters, it's somewhere between B2 and C1 depending on the university. And speaking of universities, you have to choose from public and private universities, and this is really hard question to be asked whether it's better to choose the private or public university. According to the new law, all the foreigners that are speaking Polish at C1 level or higher have the right to study at public universities for free. So if it's okay for you to get there, to get C1 of the C1 level of Polish, then that's absolutely fine. If not, then you can consider English as the opportunity. And while speaking about fees, maybe it's worth mentioning that both universities and we as National Agency for the Academic Exchange offer different programs, scholarship programs for students. There are various programs that are aimed for either bachelor's or master's studies. And basically you have to choose from either you would like to, for example, apply for bachelor's and get something really interesting, or would you like to study master's? And in that way, the number of programs may be limited, but those are really programs that are really crucial for the country, for example. So in general, you have a lot of options to consider, and a lot of, as I've mentioned before, a lot of different cities. So speaking of student cities, it's worth mentioning, for example, Lublin, which is really a student city. It's a lot of universities there. It's a lot of students studying there. If we are talking about, for example, Warsaw or Krakow, you will find a lot of international companies which are basically operating at those cities and constantly looking for students to attend their internship programs. If we're talking about, for example, Wrocław, there you will find really great technical universities which will offer you an opportunity to join the technical field, but not only the computer science, but also the mechanical stuff. So to be honest, this is really up to you. If you're interested in any particular program, you can join. You can visit our website, gopoland.pl, and there you will find the Study Finder tool, which will let you to find the right university and the right program. And there will be the description of the program, the description of the university, sometimes even fees. And if you will need more details, there will be contact information about. There will be information about how to contact the university.
So what steps do you need to take if you want to study in Poland? Is it just visiting your website? Is it enough, or you need to take some more steps as well?
Visiting the website will be the initial step, which you will need to make. But after that, you will need to pick the university and the program, or vice versa. You can first pick the program and after that the university. This is basically your decision. But once done, you will need to contact the university directly and get the information about the application process. Usually the process is unified, and not all, but most of the universities require same set of documents and same set of for example, skills, if we are talking about certain programs. But to be honest, it is always better to contact the university directly to get with them in touch and get all the information about the deadlines, about when exactly you will be able to apply, how to apply. Usually universities use their own platforms for you to create your account there, to upload your documents, get the information whether you've been qualified for studies or not. And eventually, while you will be contacting the university asking for more details, you will get additional information, like, for example, do they offer any additional language courses for new students? How can you join the students community, and whether there are options, for example, for new students to attend any meetings for new students and get in touch with everybody basically at the university, and to start their career, for example, even during their studies.
Okay, and last question. In terms of the financial support, grant or scholarships, can you explain a little bit? I know that it's a very broad question, but maybe you can just briefly explain what are the opportunities on that side as well.
Sure. So basically, as I mentioned, we offer our own programs, and you can get all the required information about them at the website. I'm not mentioning all of them because they are different, and every program has the certain range of countries, the list of countries which are eligible for such a program. And sometimes those are programs for bachelor's or master's degree, and the financial factors are really different. So this is why you just simply need to visit the website and check everything there. But if we are talking about universities themselves, sometimes even universities offer their own programs, scholarship programs, and those may cover only costs of living, sometimes even studying, or just studying and additionally costs of living in any particular city. And to be honest, there is one additional thing which you need to keep in mind. For example, if you are studying in Polish and you have the average mark higher than 4.6, it depends on the university, but usually it's higher than 4.6. This is how you may get the Rector's scholarship, which will cover a part of your tuition fee. So it's really worth studying and getting great marks.
So education pays for itself.
Exactly.
We could say that. Okay, thank you, Alexander. Anna, you have a broader view and experience on the global education. Can you share your thoughts why international education is important already in secondary and high schools, and why students should consider studying in another country?
Thank you for this question. First of all, with a pleasure, I was listening about the perspectives of Visegrad group, because as you all know, we are now in the VUCA world. So the students who are at school or even online learning, okay, they have a totally different look at the education nowadays, and even looking, okay, what they are going to do in the future. I just want to remind something that was said in 2018 by the director of the London School of Economics. And at that time, she already said, Ms. Shafik, that in the past, jobs were about the muscles. Now they are about the brains. And in the future, they are going to be about the hearts. So where the heart will be, where there will be the powerful people, there will be also a good education. I do believe that you don't have to travel as well to the country. You can mentally travel first, and you can be at any place in the world, okay, and you can be a global citizen. So that is my kind of perspective. I am coming from a very, very little village, and I cannot see any borders nowadays in today's world. So the opportunities you are giving to the students are really, really amazing. And I would like to mention something different. I would like to mention informal, actually, education that comes to our hearts and comes to our minds and prepares us to the VUCA world. So in my foundation, we do facilitate youth access to inclusive educational opportunities. When the pandemic also started, we really put together Europe, Asia, and America to organize the global education programs. And the universities, I can see, also are getting into that really individual path. As our host mentioned, okay, I am really involved in IB education, and I believe that that path to your perspectives from different countries at the universities is grounded and being prepared at high school level or even before. So IB Learning Profile already is talking about something that we really need in today's world. It talks about being inquisitive, being knowledgeable, being a good speaker, because a good person speaks well. So that is also important in today's world, that you can speak up your mind and you can show who you are. You have to be open-minded, because the world is changing so drastically nowadays that we don't know what is going to happen in half a year, right? So we can have lots of plans, but the world is changing really quickly. We are expected from that IB Learning Profile at high school level that applies to the education all over the world to have risk takers. Our students need to be also very resilient, yeah, right? Nobody has taught them before, because they were born in the era where everything was accessible for them. So that is also, you know, the challenge, that suddenly they were locked and now they have to make their minds and change their educational path. They have to be balanced, and they also have to be reflective. So that perspective pushes me to mention a few programs that we are really proud of, and not only from the perspective of Poland, but I believe they are known more known all over the world. In Poland, we've got European Academy of Diplomacy. This is a year program that is crucial from the perspective of future diplomats, and not necessarily the ones that are going to be politicians and work in diplomacy, but those who would like to become global citizens. It is held in Warsaw, and it brings actually the European citizens to show them how to, first of all, communicate, as I mentioned before, how to be innovative. This program lasts for a year. You can get a scholarship of different kinds, also granted by local funds. And this is amazing networking, because already they have been 3,000 graduates from over 60 countries. So it is also has been credited by our Ministry of Education of Poland. So that is very interesting. This is also the era of women. We can see that here there are 3 women on board. So I would like to mention one more program. This is called Vital Voices. Vital Voices has come from the United States. And there is a very interesting story behind, but for high schoolers and the first years, we can say, of university students, we have the program supported by them, I Am a Leader. I Am a Leader by Vital Voices. So 20 young women are chosen across Poland, and they are invited to Warsaw, in our case, and they are having access to businesses around. They are taught, okay, how to do the networking as well, and how to get so important soft skills and be someone, be you, not be someone else. Okay, so that is, I think, very crucial in our world. The next connectivity that happens also through our platform is mentoring and tutoring. I do cooperate with Digital University from Warsaw that has this is the chapter of Poland within Singularity University from California. And I am more than sure, I am also a practitioner, because I've been teaching IB geography for the last 15 years. So I do have global students in the classroom. I can see how they are attached to the world. They know what is happening. And I am mentioning this cooperation with digital world, because it is not only at Astra School, as you know, by Elon Musk, who creates his own vision and his own perspective, but it's also us, okay, doing daily job here at in our schools and in our communities. I cannot mention with references to that PISA, maybe you have heard about this. This is the program for international student assessment. And whenever my students go to the university, I tell them, okay, please have a look at the goals that they have, because this international assessment is looking not only strictly at math skills as it has been, and our students in Poland were very proudly seen as the brain talented actually children all over the world. But nowadays they go into creativity. So that is another aspect that is added to the bucket. And in 2025, this assessment is going to talk about digital platform, but not the one that we inquire the skills, but how we individually can apply digital platforms to learn. So as you can see, also the approach from that kind of, teacher-centered perspective to student-centered, to learner-centered, and lifelong learning has come with approach, of course, of cross-curriculum competence. So that is very, very important. What I would like to say also is that mentally we can be armchair travelers all the time, straight away, no matter where we are. However, this is actually the human being, the human touch that is going to put the students into certain places, because they're going to wait whether I am actually worth taking this opportunity, taking this time to go that far. This generation also applies to climate changes. So you can see sustainability is so important for them. So if they go somewhere, they will think really, really twice. I can observe that on a regular basis. In our offer with World Link Foundation, we do have the world trips, for example, to India, to Nepal, to the United States. But what we do over there, we go to the university really for a longer time. We explore, we would like to see, we would like to do some community service. We would like to build the trust and the ground with the local families, host families, because we believe that that networking is so important. So just to sum up, I believe that education needs rethinking. We need relearning as well, and we are not sure what is going to happen by the corner. So that is, kind of my direction, and also it applies to the vision that we have, because it is based on a big research coming from Asian society that talks about investigating the world, recognizing perspective, communicating ideas, and also take actions.
Thank you, Anna, for sharing your thoughts and feedback. Can you tell me, let's say I'm a high school student, what steps should I take when I want to study abroad? What should I consider? Where should I look for information? What would you recommend that person would that person turn to you with that kind of question?
Are we talking about a Polish student, or are we talking about a European citizen?
Well, I'm talking about your student. Let's say that your student is turning to you asking that she or he is interested in studying abroad, but have no clues how to start, where to find information, and also no clue what kind of studies, for example.
I have mentioned that global perspective because nowadays, what I do in our school is we do a lot of tutoring. It has been, a while when British high schools and universities have had it, but in Poland this is a new approach. So what we do, we have individual one-to-one, so teacher student actually tutoring, and we start our perspective of recognizing the educational path for the students when they are in the first grader. So in our system, kind of IB, this is pre-IB system. So for 2 years, they have an opportunity to talk with the teacher, with the tutor. They have an opportunity to think, okay, where is their path? Okay, this is what happens. Then the kind of big change happens when they choose IB courses. So what I'm talking about is that high school level. So in Poland now we have 4 years of high school. 2 years are considered to be pre-IB classes, and 2 years, are diploma program. Diploma program is in English. only one course in Polish is the Polish literature, and then they are taking international exam that all the kids all over the world actually take. So that is the path. And once actually they recognize their path, their strengths, what they like, then in the DP2 class, so which is the senior class, mostly, okay, they have the perspective of the visits, either virtual nowadays, or they very often students go, I do encourage them also to take part in the open houses, so-called, of the universities. They can also apply for the study visit. The best students get, for example, a week recognition tour in certain European even universities. And they can see that, is this my place? Do I want to study there? Okay, is this my career? Plus, what I do on a regular basis, I try to find mentors for my students. So before they take such a path at the university, they know that this is the job that they are going to like, or maybe it will open their eyes. So that is so important, and this happens. Plus, as I mentioned before, informal learning is so crucial for the students. They're not going only to study from the books. In the era of VUCA world, as I mentioned, look, even if we ask here the panelists, okay, how many of us have started watching even Netflix movies, right? You watch and you can see a different perspective, right? You can learn a little bit of history, geography, and everything is in the bag. So you don't have to sit and study out of the book this way. And also the universities get into it, and we can see the change. So what I am trying to do, I'm trying to show that perspective, okay, that we are not going to show what and how the world is going to look like. That's the reason, okay, the students shouldn't be pushed only into one direction. They should be given a lot. Also, the universities more and more apply the cross curriculum actually, or even two faculties at the same time. So it means that they give a broader perspective. And I cannot mention one more thing that I really push my students to do, to learn languages. I know that LearnMask is getting into that. We are going to have an app. It's going to translate, our speeches. It already happens. But I think that only face-to-face and reality as well, and empathy, they can never ever be replaced by the apps. So human beings really count.
I think so too. Understanding the culture, part of understanding the other culture is understanding the language. So technology can help us achieving that, but probably learning languages is one of the best ways to achieve that without technology, or just with technology helping us. Thank you, Anna. I would like to go to Bartosz to have some transatlantic perspective. So let's go to New York. Bartosz, can you share a little bit about the specifics of studying in the US, maybe how it is different from Europe? You obviously have a very good understanding of the US educational system, so please share some of your experiences.
Thank you, Przemek. Sure. So the first thing that we should realize is that there's two major barriers or differences here between the European system and the American system. And first of all, the biggest barrier really is the financial barrier. I know that, a couple of times we've mentioned sums like $500 or $400 throughout this event. Well, in the United States, in a public university, which is usually the less expensive universities here, one academic year could be between $20,000 and $40,000 for an international student. At some of the more prestigious private universities, it could be something closer to $60,000 a year. And of course, before I go into this a bit further, there are three levels really at the university level here, and it's slightly different than in Europe, because the first level is the bachelor level, and this is the standard 4 years of undergraduate education, and this is really the level that most Americans achieve. This level is highly subsidized by both the federal government and through Pell grants and also through different state grants. And so this is really the goal of American policy, is to have as many Americans educated to this level as possible. At this level of education, there is not too much funding for international students. There are a lot of students that still come, mostly from China, but these students are typically paying the full price tag, and they're from wealthier families. And actually, for many schools, some of the more influential schools and larger schools, this is actually a substantial portion of the revenue that these schools receive. Just for a little bit of background, I'm going to backtrack. Specifically, I studied at Rutgers University. This is the major public university in the state of New Jersey. Between 2014 and 2018, I studied at the undergraduate level to get my bachelor's degree in finance and accounting. And my experience in this is also from being a admissions ambassador for the business school. And I also served at the University Senate as a student representative from the business school. And these schools really are the schools in the States that have the most amount of foreign students and international students, because mostly because of their size. There are a couple of private universities that are larger, but the public universities are really the largest schools and have the largest programs for international students. Just to give an example, the Rutgers University is not the largest school. However, across 3 campuses, it has between 60 and 70,000 students, and this is at all 3 levels. So it's a large institution, and it does have the funds and means, logistically also, to be able to have many students, both domestically, from the state, out of state, and also from different countries. A little bit more about the funding, which is, I think, the most crucial thing to consider here. I already mentioned that at the bachelor's level, there isn't too much funding. So if we go to the next level, which is the master's degrees, there are opportunities for international students to study at this level as well. However, at this level, really, there is very little funding for both the domestic students as well as international students. These programs are probably the most expensive programs, and this also includes MBA programs. So my suggestion to the international students in the V4 would probably be to, if they are considering an education in the United States, which we know is a hot commodity, would be to aim for the graduate level, specifically for the doctoral programs. And this is because a lot of the doctoral programs, especially at these public schools, the tuition is lower than master's programs, and there's also more funding, because funding here is available for both domestic and international students without going into some of the aid-specific funding. So what this means is a lot of this is research related, and so it doesn't matter whether you're from the United States or from overseas, you will be getting a credit for the tuition. This is also very important because in the United States, if you're an international student, typically you cannot work because you are on an F1 visa, and some of the stipulations of the F1 visa include not allowing those students to actually work for earned income. However, typically when you're at the PhD level, that is not considered earned income. It's considered a credit to the tuition, as well as different stipends that you have for research, for teaching different classes, as well as other location. So for example, if you have some schools that still have very good programs, but are schools such as the public university, for example, in Kansas, or some of these states that may not be as highly traveled or sought after, but still have these programs, and they're fully accredited universities, give monthly stipends so that students can come and actually rent out something. This also goes more to the accommodations, because accommodations could also be expensive when you look at dorms. There is a very heavy dorm culture in the United States. A lot of times when undergraduate students first move in, they move into the dorms, and they are more expensive than probably the market rate. So under almost all circumstances, it probably would be best if an international student was to come to the United States, for them to actually stay at some housing that is off campus. And then that would typically be anywhere between, a market rate. I do have a lot of experience with a lot of the foreign students. Um, a lot of it is also because my minor was in the Chinese language. So because there was a high percentage of Chinese students from the People's Republic of China, I was able to communicate with them. And typically what happens is 4 or 5 of them get together, and they just rent out an entire house, and they have private rooms within that house. And that's probably the cheapest option when it comes to housing. I don't know, Przemek, if there's any specific questions, because I know that I talked a lot about many different subjects. If there's anything in more detail, I would be happy to explain it.
Yes, Bart. One specific question. Let's say I am a student from Poland. I want to study, or I'm a high school student from Poland. I want to study in the US. Where should I start in terms of what steps I need to take? What would you recommend in order to, how do I start? Where do I look for information? What do I do in order to, well, decide which university, which place, and so on and so forth?
I would typically begin by looking at, because essentially all of the large accredited universities, whether it's in New Jersey or in different states, they have international programs, and they have entire departments that just cater to the international students. And this is very important, because also going back to some of the systemic differences, in the United States, different universities are so large that essentially they operate independent schools within the university. So for example, when I was in the business school at Rutgers, most of my administration was handled specifically within the business school. This is true also of pharmacy schools, of medical schools, of law schools. So it's very important to reach out directly to these institutions and to see what type of programs they have specifically for these international students. I also think that I mentioned something that's very important that I didn't previously mention, and there are some programs where it's much more difficult to study compared to other programs. So specifically, this is related to the study of law and the study of medicine. And this is because these graduate programs in the United States are very specific with their enrollment requirements. So for the law program, you need to have a specific exam. It's called the LSAT exam. So typically you would have to take this also. It's administered overseas. So you would have to take this exam to be admitted into law schools. However, because the system is so different, a lot of schools realize that probably, or maybe, if a student wants to seek a law degree in the United States, they're not necessarily going to stay in the United States and be admitted to the Bar Association, et cetera, et cetera. And so they actually have international programs, international doctoral programs specific to international students as well. And this is also very true for medical programs. Medical programs and dental programs are very popular, especially for students in India. And so there's programs at NYU, for example, and at other schools. This is a very prestigious university here in New York that is one of the biggest medical schools in this part of the country, where they have a specific I program, I for international, where there's a lot of biology requirements and testing requirements that American students need to take before they apply to medical school. But these other programs can transition international students into these medical programs, so that it's a little bit easier to get into them, as opposed to going through some of the administrative hurdles that you would have to go through as an American student. And reaching out to these schools would provide more insight into these specific programs.
Okay, thank you, Bartosz. One last question. Did you have any snow for Christmas in New York?
So we actually got hit with a nor'easter. In New York, you either have no snow or you get 2 feet of snow, and that's what happened right before. We have these large systems that are produced because of the moisture from the ocean, and so right before Christmas, we got hit with one of these storms. So I was very happy because I love snow.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Rafał, can you tell us why it is important for students, but generally why it's important to be active, to look for different opportunities, to network? As a head of the Alumni Association, you work with other alumni, you network with other people, you work with US officials and authorities. So why it is important for a personnel to be active and participate in different programs, also international programs, and why it is important to be active, to be spotted by some of the US sponsored grants. Can you share your feedback, your experience on that side?
Przemek, let me thank you at the beginning for being the part of this conference. It is very important to learn. It is important to be educated. It is nice to be educated on the global scale, to know other people, not only people from your own country. Why is that? Because we are different. And because global scale is starting to be smaller and smaller. As you mentioned, I represent Polish Alumni Association. Let me briefly present what is it. I represent the association with the Poles who are on the programs, projects, grants, or visits in the United States financed by the US government. It is not possible to join the association. It is not possible to be somehow in the programs. Unfortunately, Americans, the American side is asking leaders, educators to be in the program, in count of different kinds of the programs, because in Poland we were about 29 different programs on the education level, on governmental level, on the NGO level, business, many different programs were presented to Polish citizens. It was presented since 1959, so it is a quite long time, because 1959 it was a very big, deep communist time in Poland. But nevertheless, since that time, we could have the opportunity to go to the United States and learn about the American society, about American business, about the American government, and about studying in the United States. As I said, it is not possible to be in the program. American is asking you to participate in the program, but there are two exceptions. One is I think the most known in the world academic program is the Fulbright program. The program is for the academic level. That means only students or academics can join. Probably in Czech Republic, in Slovakia, in Hungary, you have the Fulbright committees who might be asked to participate in this program. That means the student or academic can join the program and then go to United States for 1, 2, 3, or even 5 years of studies, or to be the part of the university academics. But what's the most important for our young viewers is the FLEX program. I know that for all those countries I mentioned before, FLEX program is working, and this is the program for the teenagers of age 16, 17, and 18. And the program is for those young people who can go to United States. They are living in the host family, the typically American family, and they have the opportunity for 1 year study in the secondary school. And I'm very sorry for other panelists of this conference that I need to say that, but Clara, you mentioned that the cost of study in Czech is quite low. It could be 500, for example, US dollars. Unfortunately, I beat it. Why is that? Because FLEX program is free of charge for young people. American side is paying for the travel, is paying for the living in the United States, living in the host family, is paying for the insurance and giving some pocket money as well, so young people can enjoy real life in the United States. But you mentioned about, Przemek, you mentioned about something what is very important. Studying is very important, but what's the most important is doing some above. That means to be active on social level, to help people, to join people, to network with other peoples. And that's why American programs are sponsoring such a leaders of the groups, leaders on the universities, leaders on NGOs. And plenty of those programs are for those leaders who can go to United States and improve what they already know or learn something more about helping people, about innovations, about environment, about education, about law, about politics, many other fields. So I think that studying abroad is not only to know more, but as I said, to know more about people. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Maybe the last question to you: when should I start? When we talk about being active, and we talk about students, high school students, how do you think, being 16, 17-year-old, how can you start being active in your local community, or how can you what steps you should take? Can you maybe recommend anything for
Yes.
a young students?
Teenager time is the best time. 16, 17, 18 is the very best time to start. We don't expect young people to be super active. If you are working in your community, help elders, or you are working with, for example, younger people to help them how to learn. If you are working with the organization who are cleaning forest, for example, those little steps are well seen by the communities. If they are seen by the communities, that means that they could be seen by, for example, US government as well. Because when you are joining the FLEX program, you don't have to be brilliant with English, for example, yes? But you have to improve yourself, that you are some kind of the leader. You are going the right path to be of the future leaders exchange program alumni. So you may start with the little steps in your community and then go further with the Flex program. If you are with the Flex program, during the studies, you can join the Fulbright program and further and further and further.
Okay, so you can actually be invited in the future by US government by being an active person in your local community, in your local town. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, that's correct. As I said, in Poland, we have 29 programs during the history of the programs of the United States in Poland. But if I'm correct, there are about 3,000 or 4,000 programs abroad around the world, which are specific for each country or each region.
Thank you, Rafał, for sharing your experience, your feedback. We are finishing a very challenging year, not only in Poland, in Europe, but globally. So I would like to ask all of you, or if you could think about or address how the pandemic situation is going to affect international studying next year. Can you share some thoughts on that side? Can you share a little bit about what can we expect next year in terms of traveling, in terms of international studies? That's an open question, so anybody that would like to share his or her view, please just speak up.
Let me start from the beginning. Maybe it will be easier to start the discussion. Unfortunately, for the programs of US State Department is not very good, because the idea of the exchange program is to visit United States. If you can't travel, you can't visit. So it's not very good. And I know that because the pandemic situation in Poland started more or less in March, so some of the participants of the program had to finish their own programs before the final end, which is normally in May or in June. So he had to get back to Poland, and they couldn't start in September this year. So everything was pushed to 2021 because the situation is still unexpected. We don't know how it will carry on. Probably in September, the U.S. department will invite Poland one more time.
Marianna, how the situation, the pandemic situation, is affecting the funds, the scholarships, the grants that Visegrad Fund is offering to international students?
Thank you for the question. And let me start more generally. Basically, we see the pros and cons of those pandemics, of the situation. Now, also, thank you everyone for very challenging ideas. And I would love to sit at the table and discuss at the coffee table thereafter very many issues. So as I'm saying, I'm starting broadly because there has to be mentioned also for our viewers that there are national scholarship schemes also in Hungary and Slovakia. So as I do fulfill the role of the Visegrad Fund, and we mentioned all 4 countries, and on every single webpage there you also will find the links to the Visegrad Fund and our scholarship schemes. And another important issue to mention is that we do allow for parallel funding. There was the issue raised of not sufficient cost covering at some points. Yes, I do understand the trouble, but we have to do our choices. Either do support more students or we do support full studies, and we have to. That's the trouble of this region. The cost efficiency sometimes. So we decided to go for a lower covering of costs and to be able to cover as many students as we can. So that's the prices I mentioned, the costs I mentioned before, kind of reasonable average. So to your question and pandemic, I think in last March, no one believed that the March that is yet to come will still be a pandemic March, and the situation will not be very different. Even if we already have the vaccination, people will be very cautious in traveling. But that's of course a negative side, but also there might be some advantages. I think that we can already see that only those who are most dedicated actually still will pursue their goal and will try whatever is possible and whatever they have to do to be able to get to the destination of their dreams and to go and study wherever they wish. So our fingers are crossed from that for them. Now, in the fund, we try to proceed as if we were in normal situation. So the deadlines are still the same. The students, as long as they could travel, they did travel, because the situation was very varying during the last months. So there were those gaps where they could travel. So who managed, then they traveled. Who did not, and their university still offered for an online course. We did change the contract, and from the next year on, we will be also covering, although only half of the costs as usual, but we do cover also some costs for online studying. But we need to have a confirmation from the university that the student has joined the course, and they are really doing what they are supposed to do, even though they are sitting at home. And otherwise we're on the standby mode, waiting to see how it develops. Maybe I would mention, although it's not really a scholarship scheme, I mentioned at the beginning that we have this granting scheme. And there are very many nice grants and discussions that we support on various issues of distance learning, of sustainability, of the issues mentioned by Anna, sorry, on the future of education, of lifelong learning, etc., etc. So those are issues that have to be really taken care of with very diligent approach in this region, especially. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. Clara, what about your thoughts about the next year and studying? How the situation will affect the international students that want to study in Czech Republic?
I actually have to say that the Czech universities are doing okay with the current situation and how everything turned into the digital online world within something like 3 seconds. So they took it as a challenge, and I think they're actually doing really well. Of course, we had students that dropped out of fear. That's absolutely understandable. On the other hand, we have students who still wanted to come to the Czech Republic, and even though it means there's a lockdown now, so they have to be in their room pretty much and cannot really enjoy the advantages of the Czech Republic, they still want it to come. We have students who are doing, of course, their courses online from all over the world. And we so far hear quite a positive feedback, of course, within what the situation allows, from our ambassadors. For example, we have a strong network of student and alumni ambassadors, and they still want to help out. They still want to be active. It's a challenging time for everybody, but there's still the heart, and you can feel it. We've asked a lot of experts what they think about 2021 and how the situation is going to be, but there's no agreement. So let's see if it's some kind of a hybrid, if it's online as well as physical, or if it goes back to physical education and seeing face to face, or if it's everything more or less still online. We'll see. But we do continue, or trying to continue, as normal. So we're hoping that the heart will win, and that people still want to see each other and still would want to travel.
Okay, thank you. One more question to you, very specific, maybe very tricky question. What, in terms of local cuisine, local food in Czech Republic, what do you think is the most popular among international students?
Right now, I guess, being Christmas, I would say it's cukroví, so the little candy that we have for the Christmas Eve. The students love it. It's super sweet and it's delicious. So when we're presenting the Czech Republic, of course, that we present the meat and the dumplings and sauerkraut and everything surrounding that kind of idea. But Christmas, so that would be also potato salad. That's for sure.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Alexander, the same question to you. How do you think the 2021 will look like? How this will affect the international students in Poland or who wants to study in Poland?
Thank you for the question. Well, before answering, I guess we need to consider what has changed since the moment when this whole thing has started. And basically the biggest success, I would call it, of the pandemic for education is the distant learning. In my opinion, it was quite a long period of time during which people were discussing how to change the tools for education, how to introduce people that are really comfortable with the classical way of studying to the distant learning and to different platforms that may let people to work distantly. And all of a sudden, everybody had to change everything and to try to keep up with what's happening and the new restrictions. So Polish universities did a good job with everything what has happened, and quite rapidly the situation was changing and universities were keeping up with that. So this is really something that worth mentioning. And also students by themselves are having a lesson of how to work on projects, how to create their projects by themselves, still being a part of the community, but now it's a digital community. And those are, if we're talking about the whole globalization era and what's happening, and the thing that passport is just the document that you have and you can be basically the citizen of any country, this is something that is really useful for that. So even, for example, even if you are from Poland and you are traveling to the US, or if you are from Czech Republic and you are traveling to any other country, you would like to cooperate with your colleagues from, for example, with people from your company, which is located at your hometown, right? Basically, you can do it using the skills that you already have. There is no need of getting those skills once you will start the cooperation distantly. And as of the next year and what will be happening, to be honest, this is really hard question. As of right now, from what I can tell, there are universities which are having less students than usually, and there are universities which are having even more students than previously. So the pandemic has verified which programs are really crucial for universities and shown the programs that are really worth investments of funds, of people, of the teaching staff. So basically, as of right now, there is a clear way to develop what you have for universities, and clear understanding for students that are coming for studies abroad, that, well, even though they have a contact with their friends and family, they are still at a different country, and they need to understand how that country works. They need to understand the local language or the local scene of where they are operating right now. And this is really a positive thing, and I guess it will really help for the students, especially those younger ones, to find the right way for them to exist in this world in the future, which will be even more digital and automated.
Okay, thank you. One more question to you. What do you think is the most surprising thing that international students, especially outside of Europe, learn about Poland when they are coming to Poland?
Well, this is a thing that one of the students that I was talking to shared with me. So basically, usually when international students are coming to Poland, most of them have no idea how exactly the relationships with the people that you meet work. And usually by just seeing people at the street, They think that this is really a harsh country to live in, that everybody is so sad, you know, everybody's so concentrated and everything. And once they start talking to people and finding closer friends, they suddenly realize how warm are the hearts of people. So this is something that is being mentioned every time I talk to international students. They go, you know what, there is a problem. First of all, you are really sad and very cold, and all of a sudden, once we start talking closer, you are a really nice person. Why is it happening like this? And basically, there is no right answer to the question, but this is something that surprises everybody. And also the traditions. So this is the second thing, which is really interesting and really exciting for foreign students in Poland.
For sharing your final thoughts. The 90 minutes are almost over. So I would like to say thank you one more time to all of you, Anna, Bartosz, Klara, Marianna, Oleg, and Rafał. Thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing your experience, your thoughts, especially during the Christmas break, which is not everybody is working. We can imagine. So thank you so much for joining us. I would like to one more time say thank you to our sponsor, which is Totalizator Sportowy, for supporting the organization of the event. And I think we heard so many times today about the opportunities and advantages of studying abroad. So I think it's really worth considering, especially in the Visegrad countries, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary. If I had the second chance to be in a secondary school, I would probably consider this for sure. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for listening to us. This has been recorded, so it's going to be also published, and it can be viewed later on as well. Thank you so much once again for being with us today.
Great talking to you. All the best. Take care.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Take care.
Have a good New Year.
Bye-bye. Have a
Thank
happy
you.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.